Three, two, one. We are live. Welcome to another episode of my coffee podcast. Yes, this has become a podcast at this point. Every morning, we're just here shooting a video, mm, sipping on a good joke. And today, I made myself an extra strong cup of coffee so that I can get on it. It is a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. here in Kuala Lumpur. Beautiful. Check this out. Okay, you can't see much. But the view over this side is way better than that building. So I can actually see the city from where I'm at. And today, very special topic, very important that I've been thinking about for a long time. And that is now, if you're wondering why I'm holding a microphone, that's because I've realized the previous videos have been bad audio. And because I'm not editing, I'm uploading straight to YouTube. Today, I'm trying to do something different and get you that crisp audio. If not, I might have to get a microphone to make this even worth my time. Now, why dealing with resistance and smashing through success barriers? It's funny that I chose this topic to talk about is because I was sitting here having some coffee, enjoying the weather, and I was like, maybe I don't need to do a video today, maybe I can just skip out. Like, why does it have to be every day? And then I just started coming up with 1,000 excuses about why I don't need to upload a video. And it's right, I don't have to, but that's the thing. It's like you were doing so well the past few days. You clearly liked what you were doing. So why aren't you doing it now? Is it because of your state? No, I'm in a good state. So what is that? Why is there natural resistance against doing things that you've already set your mind to do? Now, I'm not sure why these things exist. Uh, I'm not sophisticated in knowing why they're here, but what I've tried to do over the past years is how to deal with them, right? And how to find solutions to dealing with resistance. Because here's the thing about resistance: um, once it's there, it's out there to get you all the way to the end. And that's one thing I've realized, that if you just stay with it, if you don't do anything about it, it will rule your life. It will stop you from actually going out and getting things that you've already decided you want to do, much like this video. So I was sitting there finding every reason not to go live, and I just genuinely just felt discomfort, because, okay, here's some self-awareness happening right now. I think, again, I don't know why these things happen, but as I was sitting there thinking about shooting the video, I was thinking so far ahead of, like, oh man, I gotta talk for 20 minutes about something random. And you know how record these things is I just talk and talk, and there's no editing, there's no pauses or cuts, and I basically have to go off the hinge for 20 minutes or more. Okay, this whole 20 minutes thing is just like random. It just started off as 20 minutes, and I just didn't want to go lower. It's not really a challenge I'm doing. It's just feel like it's just good exercise. And part of why I didn't want to shoot a video is I realized that what my body is doing is trying to maintain its current state. So one thing I learned about our DNA is that its main purpose is to optimize output and reduce input. So if you think about what all humans do nowadays, it's how do we get more out of doing less? So in the case of shooting this video, it's or recording this podcast, um, it's it's almost as if my body was trying to maintain the state that it was currently in before I got in this, because I don't wake up talking with energy and just like booming out and be like bam 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 bam. Most of it is just in my head. So to be in this state requires more energy, right? So I need to be more exerting so that it can translate into the content. Otherwise, it'll won't be as engaging, because I'll be in my default state. And not to say that my default state is not awesome. It's just that when it comes to putting people in another state, you need to up your state first. So I think part of the resistance was me not wanting to change my state. So I was happy where I'm at, with my coffee next to my cat. Could have done anything, and it's like, oh man, I shoot a video. I gotta look, and I gotta change my state, and there was resistance to that. So I think part of the resistance is just state maintenance, just like how, and this happens with everybody. Okay, now for me personally, um, I'm I'm more of a laid back, chill kind of guy. I don't I don't I'm not highly I'm low energy, I would say, just by default. And I'm the kind of person that gains energy by spending time alone. I love spending time with people. At the same time, being alone has its perks for me. Other people like kind of find it depleting. For me, being alone is highly refueling, and it's like a energetic reset for me. When I spend a few days alone, I just get back, and like I get all these ideas. It's like that. Solitude actually helps me, but not for too long, because at some point it gets lonely, and then you need people. So it's like a yin and yang that I like to do. Now, you hear a lot of public speakers talk about this too. Is the And I experienced this personally. Like, say for example, when I go to a public or social event, um, the moment I get there, I'm I'm to myself, and I'm just absorbing the vibes, you know, melting into the environment. And when it comes to starting to socialize with random people, let's say you're at a networking event, and you're there to talk, but you get there and there's this resistance of talking to the first person. Again, this is specifically for me, I'm not talking about everyone. There's a resist, and I've done this many, many, many times, hundreds, oh, probably already in the thousands of times, that I've networked with the random people that I don't know. And there's always this resistance of like going first and going to talk first, getting out of my comfort zone. um, because like I said, I'm not the social butterfly that's just like can't wait to talk to people. I'm more the opposite. But the moment that I do that, because I do that, I know the value of it, and I'm there for it. So it's not that I'm gonna like pussy out. No, I'm there to do it. So when I do go and do it, my state changes immediately. And by the like 10th person that I meet, I'm already in a magnitude level higher than I was before. And that what that does is, when I'm in this elevated state, it's almost hard for me to go back to my default. So try and understand this. I start off here, right, in my default. There's resistance into having to up my state to be in a higher energetic state, right? There's resistance to that. But the moment I do it, I'm then stuck there, and now I don't want to go back. So it's like a public speaker would he'd be resistant to get up on stage, but the moment he gets up on stage, he doesn't want to come back down, because now he's in an elevated state. And I think um, it's just your body just doesn't like state change, because it its job is to maintain homeostasis, right, and keep things in balance. So if being angry is serving you in a way, you're gonna probably want to stay angry. I mean, it's not a good thing. You don't want to live there, but I'm just saying that's how I've seen from my experience how my mind and body react to these things. Now, it's funny because what I'm talking about, none of it is actually physical, right? It's all like I'm talking about energy, talking about state. All these things are mental um, things. Like, what is state anyway? What's low energy state or high energy state? What is that? Is it physiology? Probably 50%. What's the other 50? I don't know. I don't know. But what matters is being aware of it. So some other ways that I've dealt with state is to physically change your physiology. So a good example of this is like when someone is sad, what's their body language like, right? They're hunched down, their their chest is like contracted right from the side, their shoulders are shrugged. Basically, they're in a contraction mode. And when you try and get someone sad to be happy, or let's just talk about yourself. Let's not talk about changing other people. Let's just talk about me, for example. Um, when I'm sad and I want to make myself happy again. Part now this doesn't always work because as I said, it's not all physiology. A lot of it has to do with mental affirmations and stuff like that. But changing your physiology can actually um, change the state you're in. So if you were to stand upright, roll your shoulders back, and put yourself in a Superman pose, like arms to your side, like Superman, like that. And if you stand there straight up for a few minutes, you start to realize that you actually start to feel a little better, that your physiology impacts your state. Likewise, if you start to put yourself in a contracted, sad position, most likely your state will go down. So that's why a lot of people who try and teach charisma will give you all these body language hacks and like sit like this, put your hand in your pocket, stick out your thumb. This makes you look more cocky, more confident. Now, I don't believe that these things can make you a charismatic person by just watching your body language and then suddenly you're charismatic. Like I think that's a bit naive to think that it is that easy, and more importantly, it's not even that genuine. And I'm saying this because I've tried these things. Okay, I've tried all these knickknacks, and I'm telling you what's worked for me. So body language, tons of help, but it won't change the inner dialogue. You always have to rely on body language uh, as a what do you call that, training wheels. So you want to be able to be independent of the circumstance or the context of what's going on. You want to be able to self manage your own state. Now that's very hard, and even I don't know how to do that. I haven't done that successfully, maintaining the state that I want all the time. If it was up to me, I'd be in state all day. And maybe you can do that. A lot of people say you can do that. I'm just not there yet. Okay. So some of the ways I've dealt with resistance in the past that I felt could have been better was I just smashed through them through sheer willpower, which I don't recommend as a long term solution. Like, willpower is great. As a long term solution, though, it's very depleting. And the more and more you go after the things you want, the busier you'll become. So, trying to rely fully on willpower will exhaust you. It will burn you out. Your willpower is going to become so limited, the more you grow as a person, that it or what I'm trying to say is that your willpower is like a muscle, and you're going to want to allocate it into the most important things of your day or your life. You don't want your willpower to be exerted in every area. That way, you're constantly just like shoveling and shoveling. You become miserable and you become burnt out. So, you want to preserve your willpower for the things that truly need it. And you want to make other areas easier. You want to make getting up in the morning easier. You want to make like doing work easier. You want to make, I mean, long hours of work, not just work, long hours of work. You want that. You want your willpower to be maybe there because that's probably going to be the hardest thing you do. You don't want your willpower to be um, wasted on stuff like not having to do drugs, not being able to see your friends, not like not you know having resistance for like sugary foods. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't come up with examples right now. Maybe I need more coffee. Willpower to not drink coffee. Like a wise man once said, people who are addicted to heroin or meth have to exert the same amount of willpower as Elon Musk is trying to run his business than just to stop doing drugs. So Elon Musk running a business has to put so much willpower. Another person who's in rehab has to put the same amount of willpower as Elon to just stay off drugs. So imagine that. So it means your willpower is limited. You don't want to exert it everywhere. You want everything else to become easier so that when you do need to push through things, your energy is reserved. Now, so before, that's how I dealt with it. I would just plumb through it, right? Like just like, but it was depleting. So some other ways I started learning how to deal with resistance is one, becoming aware of it, taking a moment to like breathe in, realizing the resistance against, let's say, shooting this video. I'm realizing I'm starting to rationalize why I shouldn't do it. And okay, wait, hold on. I'm seeing these green bars next to my microphone, and I'm wondering what this is. Oh, wait, this is okay. This is green bars next to my mic, and it's one bar right now, but sometimes it goes up to two, and I'm not sure if the mic is broken or okay. Never mind. Anyways, what was I talking about? Smashing through resistance, right? So one is being aware of it, why, of just the feeling, not asking why. Two is realizing, remembering first that when you were in a higher state, you wanted to do this, right? So you want to listen to that person that was in the higher state, because when you're in that higher state, everything seems accessible, everything seems right. You're aligned with your mind, body, and soul. So whatever's coming up during that state is most likely something you can trust because it came from an elevated state. And why wouldn't you want to be in an elevated state? So two is remembering that. Three is letting go of the resistance. And by that, I don't mean dragging your feet, but rather feeling the resistance and doing it anyway. So it's a difference between like versus fine, I'll do it. Let's just do it, man. Let's just open the video first. Let's choose our thumbnail first. Let's just write our title, one step at a time. Like yesterday I was washing the dishes and the kitchen was a mess, all right? And it was like midnight. I don't want to spend another hour washing dishes, and there was a lot of dishes, but there was no resistance to it. Even though I hated it. Why? Because I had finished everything throughout the day. I had spent my leisure time. I'd finished work. I literally had 2 hours to myself to do whatever I wanted. So, in that retrospect, I had no resistance to do chores. But, again, I hate doing dishes. So, when I got there, I didn't even look at how many dishes I had to do, or I didn't think about it. I would just wash one dish at a time, one dish at a time until 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in, an hour later, I was done. So I had an hour of dishes, but I just did one at a time. And I only looked at the one in front of me and I washed them well. And I got it done eventually. And I totally lost track of time. And it's the same thing with this video, just one step at a time. It's the same thing when I go out. I try and stop thinking about the future too much, about, oh, what if these people don't like me, or oh, what if I'm interrupting or something like that. I'm really thinking so far ahead. I haven't even said hello. So when I feel these feelings, I get aware of them. Two, I feel it and I do it anyway. And three, one step at a time. So in terms of going out, because I think that's a highly resistant zone, because socializing with strangers and putting yourself up in awkward situations or being rejected has a lot to do with coming out of your comfort zone. It's a very uncomfortable thing to do. It's probably one of the hardest things anyone will ever ask you to do, is to network with random people. And I'm not talking like, oh, you meet a new group of friends through a friend. I'm talking like you go out, you're at a networking event, you don't know anybody there, and you just have to just start making connections, human connections, right off the bat. um, all I focus on is saying hello, right? Just go up and say hello. Let the rest fall in its place. Just like this video. I was like, oh, what am I even going to talk about? Here you go. 19 minutes in, I totally lost track of time and I'm almost hitting my 20-minute mark. And I feel like I haven't even told you about success barriers yet. So that's resistance, right? And you're going to see this in a lot of areas of your life. Now, another thing I keep asking myself, which is what I'm struggling with right now, is how do I get rid of this? Like, is this always something that's going to be? Am I always going to be in a state management thing, and I'm just going to have to always fluctuate? So far, that seems like what it is. I haven't found an answer. I haven't found anyone saying otherwise. What I do know, though, is here's the thing about your body. 1 second, take a sip. For all the people out there that are just listening and can't watch the video, when I pause for a second, it means I'm drinking coffee. So, um, yeah, what I do know more about being in state is your body will favor the state that's in favor of your survival mechanisms. So what that means is that if state B means that you'll be safe, you'll be full, you'll be you know in a good mood, uh, you're reproductive, um, you're getting laid, basically what I'm saying, then your brain will start to pump your state and realize that, hey, this is good for our survival, the food, the sex, the whatever. um, we need more of this, and it's going to do everything it can to keep you in the state that's getting you these results. Right now, this is highly connected to success barriers. Now let me give you an example. This is an example of Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson in the past was a crazy guy. Okay, he's super crazy. He got in a lot of trouble. He did so much cocaine. He got in a lot of fights. He, if I'm not mistaken, he made over $40 million and lost all of it. $40 million gone. And I mean, that, let that sink in, man. This guy spent his whole life, his whole professional. He had a professional athletic career that people would kill for. He made tons of millions of dollars, and he lost it all. Actually, let me just search it up. It might be 400 million. Mike Tyson money loss. Oh, okay. It says after earning more than 300 million. Three, it's not even 40, it's 300. Uh, Over his legendary career, the heavyweight champion filed for bankruptcy in 2003 and later went to jail for cocaine problems. Now, why is this important? Is because in an interview I saw with him, he said that in his mind, the reason he was in that like aggressive like state is that, first of all, he was young. He became a champion at the age of 19. His childhood was not great. He started like drugs and alcohol at a very young age, like 13, maybe 10 years old. And he was found by these boxing guys, and they pumped him so hard. They pumped his state all the time. They basically hypnotized him and telling him like, you're the champ. You're a fucking warrior. You're a god. Nobody can fuck with you. They made him feel like an animal, that he was invincible. And one thing that he said personally is that when I what my mind associated, or my ego is, when I punch people, when I knock someone out, great things happen. Which is why he kept knocking out. I mean, not just in the ring, but like outside, he'd punch people just like and get sued for that stuff, because his mind started to associate knocking out meant more money, more success, more fame, more press. uh, just like every time he knocks someone out, something great happens. So what do you think his mind favored? His anger, his impulse, of course, because it meant, look at all this success that's going to help us survive. Now, another thing you see in people who have experienced dramatic changes, right, like crazy changes, is that, let's say they get out of their shell, and great, they start building an amazing social life. They start dating awesome people. They're rich. They're eating the best foods. Do you think their mind is going to keep them quiet? No, you're going to put in a much more energetic state, because again, it's in favor of your DNA. So it's going to amp that up. It's going to favor that. Your brain is going to literally be telling your body, yo, we need to do everything we can to keep this up. So as long, because if this state is giving us these results, we need to maximize this. Now, it sounds like a great thing, and it is, but it does have its side effects. This is the same in reverse. So if what you're doing is bad, then but then it's giving you good results, like knocking someone out. Yeah, I mean, your brain has no context for these things. It's just going to favor its survival mechanisms. So part of resistance comes from your body not understanding what it is that you actually need. And that's tied to success barriers. So, what are success barriers? It's when you think you're um, cut from a different piece of cloth and can't achieve something because of your past experience. Like, I'm not smart enough to make $1 million. I'm not good enough to start a new business. I'm not, it doesn't even have to be business, okay? It can be anything. It can be getting that job you want. It can be as simple as learning a new skill like dancing. It's like, I can't do this. I'm not good at this. I can't learn something new. And what I've realized in my experience, and if you have a better definition of success barriers, I'd love to know. But from my personal experience, success barriers have always been because out of my mind's disbelief of who it thinks it is. And what I mean by that is, I remember this one time I was going after something I wanted, right? And I was coming from a very scarcity mind frame that, because at the like a few years ago, I really didn't have much, or I didn't know that I was capable. Okay, because my previous reference experience showed me that I wasn't. So when I was going out, but again, I'm a very stubborn, resilient person. So I don't care about my success barriers. I don't care about my resistance. I just plow through them like with willpower. And I remember when I finally got the thing that I wanted, I was in so much disbelief that my brain literally could not see it. It shut down. Like your reticular activation system, your RAS, which controls what you focus on in your day to day, was almost flipped and wouldn't even see. So what the success was a long time ago, I've dreamed of making $1,000 a day in sales. Right? It was a target. Like, man, if I could make $1,000 in sales, then I'm gonna know that I've got the touch. I've got the touch. $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. And I spent years trying to get that. Little did I know that I actually had achieved. Excuse me. I had achieved that result, um, and it didn't even click in my head. So imagine this: I spent 3 years trying to make $1,000 a day, while not and being sad that I never achieved it, while not realizing I already achieved it. So imagine how crazy this is. It's like you're trying to find that gold bar, right? Meanwhile, it's been in your pocket the whole time, and you didn't even and you felt it. You put your hand in your pocket, you grabbed the gold bar, and you thought it was, a chocolate bar or something. That's what it was like. And to give you more details, wow, these allergies are really kicking in. I my The idea in my head that $1,000 a day had to come from my own struggle and from my Facebook ads and me making 100 customers a day or whatever it took to make that $1,000. And because that never happened and the details that I was imagining, what ended up happening. Remember when I told you that story in the previous video about how I got all those organic sales from that $10? Oh my God, these allergies are real bad. Sorry about my cat is angry that I'm sneezing. So that $1,000, because of that organic sale thing, it actually, one day I was at work and I got a single sale worth $1,184 from one customer. So this guy bought 30 shirts, 30 t-shirts, Deadpool t-shirts from me for over $1,000. And that was my first $1,000 a day. And I was blown away. Okay. It's not like I wasn't happy or like, oh, no, I was like blown away. But then a few days later or weeks later, like it never clicked in my head that I had achieved my milestone of $1,000 a day. It didn't even click. I spent the next year trying to chase that $1,000 a day, and there's nothing wrong with getting it again. My point is that I was becoming sad. I was becoming sad that I didn't get my thousand. I started doubting my own skills. Like, am I even good at this shit? I mean, I can't even get 1,000. Like I've never seen those numbers in my life. But meanwhile, a year ago, it achieved it, and just because it came in a different circumstance, just because it didn't come from ads and it didn't come from hundreds of customers, it didn't come in the way I imagined it. I wouldn't even let that success actually land in my head. That check, you did it, until I looked back at my posts from like that year, and I saw that, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'd already done this. What am I crying about? And part of that is success barriers, and part of that was because at the time when I did get that $1,000, in my head I still felt like I wasn't good enough, um, because it was out of luck, right? I didn't feel that I was good enough to put systems in place to make that money happen, because every time I tried hard, I didn't get those results. So I'm like, oh, I must not be good enough. I must be doing the wrong things. But meanwhile, I'd already known the structures. Me not getting it was part of me believing I am not capable. Same with what's going on with my leads today. Part of the success barriers is because I'm entering a zone I'm not familiar with. I'm in a zone that I have no prior reference experience to, and that makes me think that because I come from a scarce background, it makes me think that one, I'm not capable, two, I'm undeserving, and three, I'm just pushing it away. So it's like you're more afraid of actually getting the result you want than not getting it. Because as long as you can keep chasing it, then it reframes your current reality of that you're not good enough. And that's the frame you're operating in. So no matter where you go, you're going to still reinforce that frame until you face that frame, which is, why am I not good enough? Why do I think I'm not good enough? Until you solve that, no matter whatever external circumstances you get, you'll never smash through those success barriers. And sometimes what you need in order to reprogram your belief systems is to experience something that's so dramatically different from your reality that it changes everything you think you know. You need to kind of crumble your ego and break it. That's why some people report psychedelics have like given them amazing things, is because they need a large drug induced state in order to destroy their ego or their identity of who they think they are, and for other things to start to land. And I don't think you need drugs to do that. You can definitely have that experience through life experiences. Like it just needs to be of such dramatic change that it's so out of your reality that it breaks you. You need to put yourself in areas that are so out of your reality that it, you have no choice but to smash through those things. Now, I don't advise this for everybody. You could go into an area that you're totally not familiar with and just like, because of your success barrier, just like get eaten alive. Okay, it happens. It's happened. Um, for me, however, I've luckily been able to adapt in real time and to fix these issues in real time before the result became negative, right? And I'd be able to solve these problems. So sometimes success barriers, all it takes is to experience something heavy enough that it changes your reality. And if you can keep doing this enough and changing your reality of who you think you are, then the things you're resistant to will also change. So if jumping off a cliff made you a lot of money, and you always manage to build a plane on the way down as you're falling down the cliff, if you do that enough, that your reality becomes that jumping is the answer, then at some point your brain will start reinforcing you to jump. So you'll have less and less resistance towards jumping off a cliff. You might still feel the fear, but the resistance to it is different, because now you've changed the underlying assumption of what you're being resistant to and why. So so again, to summarize, the resistance comes from your body wanting to maintain its current state. The state it's currently is maintaining is based off reference experience, something that is in favor of your survival. And success barriers are something that you have when your default baseline is still something you're tied to. So now you see how these two coincide. I hope this video gave you some powerful insights, and I'm so glad that I was able to overcome the resistance, because now we're at 35 minutes, and that's amazing. I didn't even want to shoot this. And I'm Goober. This is my coffee podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. We are done. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in, Mr. Number One Streamer. Love you. And